Good morning. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. The date is Tuesday, August 18th. Time is 9:10 a.m. Roll call.
Let the record reflect Commissioners Ibarra, Leisure, Hara, Woodford, Turkish, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. Flag salute, Roman 7.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community, with a special note that we've lost Steve Robinson on August 9th, who passed away at home. His services are August 29th. Thank you.
So we start with Commissioner comments. Item 1.
Good morning.
Morning.
First of all, I'd like to offer my condolences to the staff and to the family of Steve Robinson. I actually had the opportunity to meet him, and he had lasting impressions upon me. So I remember that when I heard the name and the description, I said, oh, that's the guy I met. When I met him at the Metro Fire Communication Center, he told me his story, which was really a story. And then he said, it's lunchtime, let's have lunch. But I was on my way out, so I really could not. So he's a very pleasant, nice person to talk with. But I was really impressed with the fact that he was so happy that even after all that he had gone through, he had a place to go to work. He still wanted to be a part of the LAFD. I was extremely impressed with that because I'm sure after all he had gone through, he could have gone home and just called it a day. But I was very happy, that's a lasting impression for me. And he reminded me, because at the time we were talking about replacing the people at the center with civilians, and he said, where would I have gone if I had done that? So I said, yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. He shared the whole story about keeping firefighters at the center, the communication center. So that was, so I'll always remember that his courage, his strength, and his dedication to the LAFD stood out when you talked to him. And may he rest in peace. That's a sad loss. I had some people inquire of me about the pass-fail scores for the test, that they had been changed over the last few years, last couple of tests, or the test before, 2 or 3 tests back.
Are you talking about hiring? The hiring one?
Yeah, the hiring. And so I was wondering who I would speak to, or how do I find out if that is true, if the test scores have been changed over the last 3 or so tests, and if they're published when the flyer for the job goes out, do they publish what the passing score would be? This is a concern for me because it's been raised by some of the people in the field. I also, along with Dr. Hara, attended the MLK dedication of the hospital. That's a beautiful facility. Emergency services are there, not trauma services yet, but it's going to be a great relief, I think, for the hospitals in and around the area, because it does have a full care service there, including the psychiatric mental health section, and they are planning for a long-term care facility and trauma in the future. But what really caught my eye was the cost of putting that facility there, and the cost of providing medical facilities in the area is tremendous. So we can say, yes, I want a hospital, but it's like, where do we get the money for all of those services? It's a lovely facility. Aesthetically, it's very pleasing. It's a beautiful facility in the middle of of that area. So they didn't spare on the architectural and construction design. So I think this is going to be a big asset to this community as well as to the LAFD. And I was also impressed with the fact this past week that many of the pictures that had never been seen before of the Watts Revolt came from the LAFD. That was really impressive, and there were some different pictures that had never been seen. So I should imagine if we combed the archives, we could see lots and lots of history. I actually lived through that revolt. Soldiers with bayonets walked past my house every day for a week. So I well remember that and thank the firefighters who actually contributed to keeping us safe and at that particular time, because it was a very dangerous time for them too, because I remember how they had to be escorted by police officers to get to a site where there was a fire. They couldn't just go to the fire site like they do now. It was very dangerous, but we all survived it and made it through it because of the strength of this department. I'm so sure of that. Thank you.
Madam President, if I could respond to Commissioner Woods-Gray, initial comment about changing the written scores in the last couple of years, and I'm not aware of that. We're going to drill down on that, and we'll talk offline and let you know what we find out. I think that may be inaccurate information.
Okay, that would be great if it is.
Okay.
It's probably the cutoff.
So I wanted to thank you for your comments on firefighter Steve Robinson. Wanted to echo the condolences. Also wanted to just quickly thank Fire Station 17, who graciously hosted me for dinner on, I think, last Friday night. Spent some time with them, went on a few calls with them. So thank you to them for hosting me.
I also attended the MLK opening, and then actually this past Saturday, Charleston University, we hosted the mayor's conference relating to the Watts riot. And actually last week I also attended the press conference that Congressman Adam Schiff, Assembly Member Mike Gatto, and Herb Weston, and Mitch Englander from the City Council, and our chief speaking out about drones and the issue that they and the problem that they present, especially in firefighting, brush fires and what have you. And I thought it was all of them spoke very well. And Adam Schiff is working at the national level with the FAA, and then there's legislation that's forthcoming at the state level as well, and locally as well.
Thank you. Okay, so that's Commissioner comments. Moving on to report of the Fire Chief.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Okay, I'll speak loud.
Yeah.
There you go. On August 6th, we had our another of our badge presentation ceremonies. We had a total of 49 members promoted to the ranks of Engineer Inspector 1, Captain 1, and Captain 2, as well as, for the very first time, we recognized some of our members who became paramedics. And I think it sends a strong symbolic message that we value that achievement as well. On August 12th, I attended with Chief Vidovich a all fire prevention members meeting, and it's the second one he's had since he's been the fire marshal. And prior to the first one, him and I could not think of ever having done that before. So we're attempting to improve our communications throughout our department, and especially in the Fire Prevention Bureau. On that same day, I did also attend that drone press conference with all the elected officials. The bottom line is the tagline we're trying to embed in the public consciousness is that if you fly, we can't. A drone can get sucked into the rotor of a helicopter and cause it to crash. So luckily, knock on wood, we have not had an incident here within the city, but there has been incidents throughout the state, and the problem is increasing. So we're very cognizant of that threat, and we're monitoring the situation. We're putting out as much messaging as possible. On that same day, we also filmed a public service announcement for the mayor's crisis response team. I talked to the director there, Joe Avalos, and he's saying that statistically the fire department is requesting them much more than we have in the past, and that's by design. They deliver a valuable service to the people that we serve who need emotional support. And, we can't do that as much as we'd like because we're available for the next call. So when we make the call out through our Metro Fire Communications for the Mayor's Crisis Response Team rollout, they come out, and many times there's more than one, and they're able to stay with the family members and provide emotional support. And lastly, I want to announce our first public safety fair that South Bureau is hosting. I've tasked each of the bureaus to hold a public safety fair, one per quarter. The first one is this coming Saturday at Fire Station 65, and it'll be a partnership with us and other city departments and private entities. It'll be at 65 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to verbal report by the Department on Significant Incidents from August 5th through August 18th.
Good morning, Madam President,
Good morning.
Commission, Fire Chief. Daryl Arbuthnot, Valley Bureau Commander. Just have one incident to report. On Sunday, August 16th, we had a fatality fire. This makes number 9 for this year in a detached garage in the Valley. The follow-up on this, the good part was MySafe LA, Red Cross, and our resources were immediately canvassed the area again for our smoke alarm giveaway program. And they actually went into 45 homes, and they've got 6 installs they did. And this is actually a great partnership between the MySafe LA, the community outreach program. Thank you.
So, and did they have a working fire alarm? Do we know?
Not familiar, but the fatality occurred in the actual detached garage.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So were they living in the garage?
It was converted, right?
It's unclear, but that's where the actual fatality occurred.
Oh.
On the news, they indicated that apparently that it was like in the garage area, and they didn't have electricity, so therefore they had candles.
So
Oh.
probably
For
the fire
light.
alarm wasn't working either.
That's correct. And again, that's why they have the hard wire and the battery backup to most of these smoke alarm systems.
Thanks. So verbal report by the, yes.
Good morning, Madam Commissioner,
Good morning.
Chief Terrazas, Commission. My name is Philip Flegel. I'm the Deputy Chief in charge of Operations Central Bureau. I just want to give you a quick overview of the kind of the activity within the region over the weekend that we had. As you all know, we had a lot of significant wildfires going around the region. I just kind of want to give an update what we were doing and how things were occurring over the weekend. Right now, there is a total of 19 large wildfires within the state, with a total of 12,565 firefighters on the line right now within the state of California. That's a pretty significant drawdown. Some things happening within our city themselves. LAFD Strike Team 1001A, which was deployed over to the Rocky Fire a little bit more over than, 17 days now. We had an exchange of personnel over the weekend. They were up there for their 14-day commitment, and the incident commander of that fire requested that they wanted the LAFD Strike Team to stay up there for an extended period of time. So what we did is we had members at a fresh crews piled up here at the city on a bus. Were driven up to that incident and exchanged with the crews that have been there for 14 days and came back down on Sunday. So we successfully granted that incident commander their wish and given some more support up there, which they really needed. Also, in conjunction with that, LAFD still has 25 overhead personnel at various fires throughout the state, helping out with command and general staff functions, still assisting our assistants with them to help them abate their fires and their command and general staff functions. Over the weekend, we had a very hot weekend, but what it did is actually elevated our fire danger to an extreme level. And even though it was extreme, we really didn't have the winds to support high fire danger. But because of that, we had a fire prediction and leaned forward and developed some contingency plans, and also that included moving some key apparatus to locations, hiring back additional command staff, and also closely monitoring the fire weather throughout the region. Over the weekend, we had several conference calls with the department command staff and the fire chief to make sure that we achieved our optimal situational awareness and also had our best deployment model for the weekend. And with that being said, on early Friday morning, there was a brush fire that broke out near the 118 freeway in Rocky Peak. near Topeka Canyon, actually. Due to the close proximity to the city, Board of LA City responded with a full brush assignment. And then we eventually found out that was in the city of Ventura, but we assisted them with some initial attack and gave them some water and some air support until they would get that fire knocked down. And then we got our resources back to the city within a relatively quick amount of time. Later that afternoon, the rustic fire broke out in Simi Valley. And again, Ventura County Fire Department requested a immediate need strike team, which we assisted with them to get there immediately to help them out with structure protection, and also a helicopter to assist them with initial attack. And within 6 hours, our strike team got back to the city, back to us. On Saturday, the cabin fire broke out in Los Angeles County, and LAFD assisted with a helicopter resource and also a bulldozer to help them with their line construction. And then on Sunday, over here you saw in the city of Whittier, quite unique brush fire broke out, kind of in the intermix right there, where the Lincoln fire broke out, and also the Warm fire in Castaic. And again, we lent the Los Angeles County a helicopter for initial fire attack and some water assault or aerial assault. Overall, it was a busy weekend for the region, everything around us, but within the city of LA, we had nothing as far as brush fires come and break out on us, so everything was good. So that was it. Are there any questions about the regional operations through the week? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So item 2C is verbal report by the medical director from August 5th through August 18th.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Some of the more significant EMS incidents since the last meeting. On the August 8th and 27th, first in Hollywood, there was a two-car collision head-on. Total of 7 patients, including a infant that was ejected. On the 9th, there was a head-on collision in the Van Nuys area, 90s first in, but total of 5 patients, 2 of whom were pronounced deceased on scene. On the 11th, there was a jumper incident on 6th Street Bridge. Tragically, an individual jumped prior to the deployment of airbags, was agonal on scene, subsequently expired at the hospital. Apparently, that was videotaped and is on social media as well, and our members witnessed this as well, so obviously there's an emotional component there. On the 15th, there were 2 significant incidents. One was a multiple casualty incident in the downtown area. Individual struck 2 pedestrians and then subsequently crashed into a car a block later. 2 people were hit by the car, and there were 4 other patients in the enclosed vehicle, which he struck. Total of 6 transports. Fortunately, all survived. And yesterday, there was a individual struck by a train at 98's first in the Van Nuys area that was pronounced on scene. And then finally, just to end on again on a positive note, there was a near tragic incident yesterday in the Silmar area, 91's first in. A 15-year-old young lady was exercising on a treadmill and then collapsed into sudden cardiac arrest. The call was dispatched in 25 seconds, and our members on scene were able to get her resuscitated and transported her in critical condition to Olive View Medical Center. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So moving on to presentations.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Daniel Curry, Captain, Public Information Officer in the Community Liaison Office. As you know, the primary mission of the Los Angeles Fire Department, especially during emergency activities, is to save lives and protect property. And mostly that's property of a very personal nature to the victims. But once in a while, our actions impact and save property that benefits all of Los Angeles. And I'm about to relate one such story. But first, let me preface it by giving some history of the property. The Hollywood Heritage Museum, located at 2100 North Highland Avenue on the Hollywood Bowl parking lot, the museum is housed in the restored Lasky DeMille Barn, which was acquired in February 1983 by Hollywood Heritage Incorporated and moved to its present site. And it was dedicated as a museum in 1985. And since that date, Hollywood Heritage has funded the preservation, restoration, and maintenance of early Hollywood treasures. The museum features archival photographs from the silent era of motion pictures, movie props, historic documents, and other movie-related memorabilia. Also featured are historic photographs and postcards of the streets, buildings, and residences of Hollywood during its golden age. Special events entitled Evenings at the Barn are open to the public and regularly programmed, including speakers, screenings, and/or slideshows with a focus toward Hollywood's early history. Occasionally, historic silent films are screened in cooperation with the Silent Society. The building itself was built in 1901 as a stable and eventually housed the second movie studio ever built in Hollywood. Cecil B. DeMille, Jesse L. Lasky, and Samuel Goldwyn are all famously associated with the barn, which is visible in a number of movies, including The Rainmaker and in series such as Bonanza. The Lasky DeMille Barn is a registered California state landmark and has also been placed on the National Register. As I stated earlier, the museum is owned and operated by Hollywood Heritage Incorporated, a California state nonprofit founded in 1980 by Marion Gibbons, Christy Johnson McAvoy, Frances Offenhauser, and Susan Peterson St. Francis. Miss Offenhauser is here with us today, and I'll ask her to come up in a second. I just want to relate the details of the incident. Recently, the museum was making improvements for constructing a new back deck and a silent film stage display. That construction work was being done on February 6, 2015, and during the removal of a wooden deck, the sole plate rolled and caused the initial separation collapse. At 12:59 hours, Light Force 27 responded, and upon arrival, they found the back wall of the museum had separated from the foundation. Captain Smith of Light Force 27 requested Battalion 5, USAR 88, Engine 27, and a response from Building and Safety. These additional resources worked for nearly 4 hours, building interior and exterior shoring systems, providing stability to the building, and ensuring the security of the contents of the museum. And just a note, this is the second time that LAFD has stepped in to save the museum. In 1997, an arson fire, Engine 76 responded to the arson fire there and saved much of the building, including all of the museum's permanent collection due to salvage operations. At this time, I'd like to bring up Ms. Offenhauser to offer some additional comments.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Fran Offenhauser. I'm a founder of Hollywood Heritage 35 years ago and currently back on the board, and I'm also an architect. I'm doing better, thank you. Good morning again. So February 6th was a surprise for us in two ways. Number one, we have a 90-foot-long wood barn, and I got the call it fell off its foundation. That's a surprise. But surprise number two was a really pleasant surprise. By the time I arrived, Urban Search and Rescue was there, and it's, I have to tell you, quite a surprise to see firefighters in the yellow slickers with their full equipment on, with hammers, saws. They came with their own 2x4s and plywood, and a pleasant surprise to see that they knew exactly what to do to re-support the building and to protect it from any further damage. So I'm here I'm very grateful, and Hollywood Heritage is grateful, and this is, as gentleman said, the second time that what's considered in Los Angeles the birthplace of motion pictures and the birthplace of Paramount Pictures has now twice been saved by the LA Fire Department. So thank you, and I'm happy to report the building's back up on its foundation. The deck's being finished, I think, today, and we'll be back in action. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm not a very good photographer, but you can, this is a picture of how they propped up the inside of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they propped it up inside and outside.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that.
Thank you, Ms. Hopp. Thank you. Now, not everybody is here today, but I'll call all the names, and as I call your names, if you could please arrange along the west wall here. Firefighter 3 Robert Hinojosa, Engineer David Weiner, Firefighter Paramedic Philip Hong, Firefighter Paramedic Michael Mueller, Captain 1 Raymond Kosinski, Engineer Brett Sparkman, Captain 2 Robert Cordobas, Apparatus Operator Tyrone Baker, Firefighter 2 Damon Bowden, Engineer Adam Davis, Firefighter 3 Kevin Smith, Firefighter 3 Travis Warford, Firefighter 3 Raul Coronado, Captain 1 Frank Aguirre, Battalion Chief Craig White, and retired Captain 2 Charles Smith. And I will read one of the proclamations. On behalf of the Los Angeles Fire Department, your integrity and commitment to the community of Los Angeles is appreciated. While on duty, you shored and prevented collapse of the Hollywood Heritage Barn, a California historical landmark, on February 6, 2015. The citizens of Los Angeles are blessed to have trusted members such as you. Your hard work and professionalism is also a tremendous reflection on the Los Angeles Fire Department and those we serve. Presented this 18th day of August 2015, Ralph M. Terrazas, Fire Chief.
Thank you, Cap. 27s, I'm proud of you. Outstanding work. As I often say, excellence occurs when an individual recognizes an opportunity and pursues it with a passion. This is an example of not only an individual, but an entire company supported by the neighboring companies and the battalion chief. Here was an opportunity to use their urban search and rescue skills to create shoring to prevent the collapse of this historical monument. And I think they probably could build that back porch too if you gave them a chance, right? So the things our people do never amaze me. They continually instill my optimism and confidence in the people that we have on this great department. And I'm very, very proud to represent all of you. Thank you for an excellent job. We'll take pictures in a moment, but I'd like to turn it over to a spokesperson for the group who would like to say a few words. Which one? Hinalosa, come on up.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the group. I think I can speak for all of us. We responded just like any other incident, and we saw the task given. We put our training into use, and we train on it all the time. The USAR, we don't go on too many USAR incidents, but when we do, it's a big deal. So it was nice to see 88s, us come together, and with the operation, the AO and the captain from 88s took charge. They told us what needed to be done. We did it, and luckily everything went smooth. Nobody got hurt, and the building is still in operation. So I said it's our pleasure to do what we do, and I said we love what we do, and that's why we're there at 27s and USAR station. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good job.
Very well done. Good practice for your captain's speech. Let's take a group photo if we can get the members here in the commission.
Oh, you guys first.
I think you guys go first. I think we're going to probably go to the bathroom. Then I'm going to have to jump.
We get the guys, tell our guys to pack. One step up, normal. Yes. Commissioner?
there. That's good. See? See?
Just one presentation, right? Just one? Okay. So moving on to the consent agenda items.
Oops. Move to adopt the recommendations for items 4A, B, and C.
All in favor?
Oh, second.
I will second.
Oh, great.
All in favor?
Aye.
So 5A, which is the report by the department on the status and disposition of LAFD matters referred to committees, departments, etc.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief, Julie, and Radina. I'm Graham Everett. I'm the Chief of Staff. With your City Council and Committees activity report for July 27th through August 7th, the information is in your packets, and it includes a couple of items of note. Hopefully you're able to take a look. But one of the most critical items for us was the adoption of a motion to include 5 additional recruits into each of our classes for next year. So that's a total of 25 additional recruits that we'll be getting through. Yeah. So that was an interesting council adoption from last week. Nothing new to report since then. However, today at Public Safety, we have several items on the agenda. I haven't gotten a report back on the disposition of those yet. 2 of the most pressing there are our brush clearance fees are being talked about at Public Safety this morning, and also an item about the drones legislation that is going through. So I'll be able to report back on that next meeting.
Okay.
If you have any questions moving forward? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So 5B.
Yes, sorry, move to adopt. Receive and file item 5A.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 5B's report by the department on the arson counterterrorism audit from the independent assessor.
Good morning, Madam President, Fire Commissioners, Fire Chief Terrazas. This is just an update on the audit that independent assessor did. They started that audit back in May of 2014, and then in 2015, I was here in May, and I gave the first iteration of the progress we've made. The audit was focusing on policies and procedures, quality of the investigations, our training, supervisory oversight, and background investigations in general. There was 12 recommendations made. We are working on all 12 of those recommendations. We've made progress on about 6 of them have been completed. We're in the progress of improving our manuals and updates, and it's basically a staffing issue. We have submitted our arson procedures bulletins to the city attorney for approval. We still have some that are in their hands right now, and that's just an ongoing process. Today we've actually submitted 3 more for the Fire Commission to approve, and then we get them back into our people's hands back in the field. As far as our recording devices and equipment, we've ordered equipment for our folks so they can do more efficient investigations. We do arrest. Since the last time I was here, we've arrested 22 people for the crime of arson. We still have some very active investigations, which are very time-consuming, that you probably have heard about. And then we're at 9 fire fatalities, you've heard, and those are big investigations that we're currently working on. Our ongoing training, we're doing training for firearms training. We're also seeking less lethal options. That's something that's we're working at we're working with.
Seeking what? I'm sorry.
Less lethal options.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just another tool that we give our fire investigators rather than we have mace and we have a firearm, but we want to have something in between those two. So we're working with the Fire Foundation with that and the fire chief to go ahead and move forward with that. That should be coming up. I suspect we'll have that probably by the end of this year, and then we have to pursue that training. We're also doing training. A big issue was training. So we've completed 921 training for all of our members, and that's basically origin and cause training and getting familiar with all the new updates and changes that we've done. And also, we're replacing our firearms. They're at a 10-year cycle, and so we're over that 10-year cycle, so our firearms need to be replaced, and we're in the process of doing that. That should take place in the next couple of months, just going through the procurement process right now. Our CPR requests, we've had 1,269 CPR requests, and that's just a huge time constraint on our folks, so we're managing that. Along with our fire reports, we're about 798 fire reports that we process. That doesn't include subpoenas or the daily phone calls that we're dealing with. Also, our canine handler, we're in the process of getting that person trained up. Frank Oglesby has been the canine handler for 25 years, I think 25, 26 years. He'll be retiring early part of next year, and we're in the process of getting that individual trained. And then we're also pursuing changes in law enforcement training, and that's the cultural awareness and diversity training. We're going to be at the Simon Wiesenthal Center, getting our people trained on cultural diversity and just being more acclimated to the environment out there. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Our ongoing interaction with our police agencies, that's certainly developing. We've had 2 detectives assigned to my section for the last 6 or 8 months working on the Da Vinci fire. We're looking pretty good on that case, and we have a positive outcome here probably this time next year. And then just some other significant cases I won't get into right now. Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
What kind of firearms do they use?
Right now, we're carrying a Glock 22, which is a 40 caliber sidearm. It's basically came off the heels of LAPD, and we use their format for their initial weapon that they issue all their brand new officers. Once you get trained on that weapon, you can they have a whole host of weapons you can choose as a personal choice, but that's their standard issue. They've gone to a 9mm. So we're now transitioning to that same format, which is a Glock 17, which is a 9mm. It's a little bit cheaper round, and there's some other ballistic issues that are associated with that decision-making process, and we're in the process of procuring those weapons as we speak.
So do you order them through the police department, or you have your own orders?
We have our own order system. The LAPD is certainly, we try to mirror their format, because obviously we follow their policies and procedures when it comes to use of force and firearms. So we try to mirror what they're doing, but we have our own procurement process that we're going through.
Thanks.
So it was unclear to me. Some of these items are completed and some of them are in progress.
Yes.
It wasn't entirely clear to me which ones were and which ones weren't.
Okay, if I go through, number one is our arson manual. These are the 12 recommendations from the audit. That's ongoing. That's a huge undertaking, and that's really just boils down to staffing.
Okay, so since it boils down to staffing and we're looking at the next budget, are you looking at including, because you said you needed maybe a management analyst, is this something that you're preparing to include in the budget?
Yes, we've requested a management analyst. We've requested another second senior investigator for that main purpose. We've also, we're down clerical because one of our clerical is promoted, so now we're at a deficit there.
But that's a matter of just hiring the right
It
person?
is, but it's not helping in the short run. Yeah, it does take a while. So we have requested a management analyst and a second senior investigator, mainly for the senior was going to handle a lot of the case management stuff that we're doing. And then item number 2 is developing policies for the field. We've put our ARG, which is our arson reference guide, out on the EPCR, so they have it, the mobile data terminal, they have that readily available. We've also put it on Target Solutions, and we're hoping to get that on the portal soon.
So for number 2, does that also delineate like the duties of the first responders versus the investigators?
This is really focused on field, so it's for first responders, and it basically is a matrix on when to call arson. So it gives them kind of a formatting, which because of the turnover at the captain rank out there, we try to also reiterate this at our OSEP training, our COSEP training. It just gives them a little bit of some guidelines on when to call arson, because if you're not familiar with the process, it could be a little, ambiguous.
So the sort of this states basically when it's going to become an arson case?
Yes, it gives them guidelines. Yeah, absolutely. And there's some thresholds there for them to, to look at, so that they know, when to call, but also gives them some criteria to go for. And there's like 12 different areas that they would call arson.
Okay.
And then number 3 is canvassing and witnessing. And that was APB number 13. And that we're still in the process of working on that because of just the legal issues associated with interrogating individuals. But number 10 is also as a complement to that, and that's been completed and approved by the board and the city attorney. Number 5 has to do with audio and visual recording, and we've issued all of our investigators audio recording devices so that they can now record their interviews, and that was a recommendation from the independent assessor.
There was also a recommendation that most of the interviews be in person. Does that?
Yes, that is taking place, and the only time that it would not be taken in person is if there was some extenuating circumstances which needed to be documented in the narrative.
Okay.
So we've covered that, and I think we try to stick with that as a general rule. I don't. There's only probably a few chances when that doesn't happen, but there's usually circumstances why that wouldn't happen. Number 7 is the partnerships that we've developed with the ATF and with the FBI and with LAPD, and we currently have 2 members assigned to the JTTF. So, and we work very closely with Major Crimes Division. Like I said, we have 2 detectives assigned to us, and we have an ATF agent assigned to us full time in my office. So, I think that's a good partnership, and we continue to maintain those partnerships. Number 8 is adopt formal investigation process and training requirements. Like I said, that's ongoing. That will never end. We've had 921 training and 1033 training here this year. We just completed that in May and June. We have FID, which is Forced Investigation Service. Our folks that just went to FOS, which is Force Option Simulator, and that's basically when you have just different options for then pulling out your firearm and shooting somebody, and they run you through the various scenarios to see, if you have progressive uses of force up to deadly force. All of our members just went through that. That happened in July. And then number 9 is supervisory approval. Loosely said, pretty much nothing gets by our 2 captains that we have down there watching all those reports. They get phone calls every single night, including myself, for arrests and for major cases and incidents that are going on, and they approve all the written documentation. Hence the reason we need another senior, because when it comes to the actual amount of paper that generates because of an arrest or a fatality has to be gone through, and so a lot of paperwork there associated with those types of administrative issues. Number 10 is comply with letter of agreement on the psychological health. That is completed.
Yeah, that's complete.
Okay, and everyone's complied with that, and we've got 6 people in the process. Actually, this last series of 6 people started their investigative background back in February. We're still going through that. We're hopefully to get somebody out by the end of this year. So as you can see, it takes about a good 10 months, 9-10 months to get somebody entirely through that process. So we are forecasting out for our vacancies, and hence hopefully these 5-6 people will help fill vacancies that we're going to experience in the first part of next year. And number 11 is ensure compliance with LAPD policies related to firearms. That's ongoing. We try to go out and train every other month with LAPD. Plus, we bring them in at any opportunity we can. We have Captain Floyd Camacho as our training coordinator. And I don't have the training numbers, but because I just walked out without them this morning, but our training hours are well above what we've recommended, and we're exceeding the post requirement. And then number 12 is ensure all weapons qualification standards are we watch that very, very closely. We monitor it on a monthly basis, and we track all that training, and we digitize everything. We're trying to automate that process through CIA or through SANSIO, some formalized process to where we can just have a more fluid process. I just personally want it automated. And right now we're just doing it manually, and I just think there's a better way with technology, and we'll get there eventually.
Okay. So the only thing I have on 12 is, so if investigators don't follow the weapons qualifications, they just get entered into CTS. It seems like maybe they shouldn't be carrying a weapon if they hadn't followed the qualifications.
Well, yeah, if they fail to qualify, we follow what LAPD's standard is, and that's.
So their standard is they just.
No, they get reprimanded, and they get paper put on them. They don't take away their weapon. They're certainly qualified. They just have to go qualify. They have to go back and qualify. We haven't had anybody fall out of statute since we've adopted this. But what we're doing now is if someone does not qualify, is we enter it into CTS as a record, so that we have a tracking mechanism so we can follow it more fluidly. And then because
so
we
maybe
don't.
There's like an escalation.
Yeah, because we don't administer punishment at my level. So what we do is we put it in the CTS system, let nature take its course, and then when it comes out, there'll be some sort of punitive damage.
Yeah,
associated with that.
I just think there's like a public safety aspect to somebody carrying a weapon, and especially if it's different in PD because it's part of their profession to do that. So it's sort of different for us because you can be very qualified otherwise, but the issue of a weapon is.
Well, let me be clear. If they don't qualify because they've missed, and let's just say they're on vacation, for instance, and they just missed that 2-month window of opportunity, when they come back, they go immediately go and qualify. But the process, because they've missed, we still enter them into the system. They're not going to be out there unqualified. Okay. Does that make sense? If they've missed a date, and we're human beings, so it does happen. And generally speaking, there's a logical explanation. It may not be a good one, but then they need to just go qualify. And once we identify that, they go qualify right away. And then the process is now entered into the CTS system.
How long do they have to qualify? So let's say they repeatedly fail their weapons qualification.
What we do is we call LAPD. We have a personnel that handles their qualification issues. We run it by her, and we're guided by what she says to do. Generally speaking, is they just got to go back and requalify. If they're off medical ID, then they're grandfathered, obviously, because there's obviously a legitimate reason why they're not qualifying. And then when they come back to work, one of the first things they do is go get and qualify.
Sure, but there is a possibility. Let's say somebody is repeatedly failing to qualify. Would we then take away? I understand we're in the hypothetical realm here, but would the eventual?
My recommendation for someone who doesn't qualify is that they're removed from the section, put on administrative detail until they. And if they can't qualify, we will look for reasons to get them not in the section. That's my recommendation. I think with my boss, Chief Little, and Chief Rueda is concurring with that. If they can't qualify, they're not going to be in the section.
But that's not written in policy anywhere that you have. If you fail multiple qualifications, then you're out after 3 failures or something like that.
No, you bring up a good point, Commissioner. But loosely said, I would say if you're an arson, you're a gun enthusiast. And you're not likely to have an issue with firearms. That's a generic statement, but most of the folks there carry a gun because they have a propensity to go out and shoot on their days off, and they just really enjoy it. Unlike myself, I had to qualify, and I have to shoot just like the rest of them.
If I could just ask that, I appreciate the completeness of the report. If I could just ask that maybe this come back, when do you think would be a right time to come back for a progress update as far as continual adoption of the...
Just because of the busyness of my section, I think 3 months is adequate. I can certainly come back anytime you'd like.
Nope.
3 months, I think I made a loose agreement with Sue Stengel, the independent auditor. I think 3 months is appropriate. Gives us time to massage our arrests and all the different cases that we're working on, CPR, subpoenas, fire reports.
So we'll plan for the first meeting in December then.
That would probably be appropriate.
Okay. Thanks.
And how often do the arson investigators, how often have in the past had to use their firearms? How many times have they been engaged in firing firearms in their job?
I would probably defer to Chief Rueda for that, but since my knowledge is that we've never had a use of force issue in the history of arson section, I think there may have been some personnel issues that may be associated with firearms maybe a decade or so ago, but as far as a use of force issue, I don't think we've ever had one, Chief.
But I don't think her question was use of force. It's just when they used it, not if they used it inappropriately.
I don't think they've used... Long time, way before my time, so I'm not familiar with anything in the recent decade or two. Just me personally, I haven't. And we diligently, although we're fire folks for the most part, we do so much training on that side that our LAPD counterparts commend us for the amount of training we do because of the fact that it's not our primary, nature. We're firefighter and hose pullers for the most part. So we overemphasize the training and the use of force aspects because of that specific issue. And we're constantly telling our folks, especially we've had 50 officer-involved shootings this year, just in LAPD. So it's something that we constantly reinforce on a regular basis. Hence the reason why we're going to less lethal. We want to certainly have other options for our folks.
Okay, so they're mostly prepared to protect themselves.
Oh, absolutely. I would say that our LAPD counterparts said that they would put us up against some of their more military people that they have, and even military, the Navy SEALs and stuff. They said the way we qualify and what we do on the range, they said that we're really, really, really well trained.
I'm impressed with that position because there is a lot of training that goes into it.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility when you can take someone's life and or their civil rights away. So The training that we do, we emphasize the training a lot, and we're diligently recording that, and we want to make sure our people are the best trained out there.
Thank you. So we look forward to seeing you in December.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Chief?
So, so our action today is going to be to approve the report instead of just receive and file, right? Okay.
All right, so move to adopt the recommendation for item 5B, which in this case is to approve the report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5C's Burville report by the department and the status and deployment of the fast response unit.
Good morning again.
Morning.
It's my pleasure to give you this verbal update on the fast response vehicle. A little bit of the background. I applied for a grant through the Mayor's Innovation Fund last fiscal year, and fortunately we were approved. The fast response vehicle is a new innovative response vehicle for the department. Basically, it's going to be staffed with 2 firefighter paramedics in a brand new brush patrol vehicle, so it will be able to respond to both structure fires and EMS calls. The purpose of the fast response vehicle is to decrease response times because they will be out on the radio. They'll be working on a 410 schedule covering battalions 1 and 11, downtown area, MacArthur Park area, from the hours of 1100 to 2100 hours. Our greatest need in terms of resources and call load is typically the afternoon rush from about 1500 to 2000 hours. So they're going to have a huge impact on our resources. The fast response vehicle will be out on the radio in either of those 2 battalions. They will be able to attach themselves to incidents, both structure fires and EMS calls. They will have no turnout time because they're out on the radio as opposed to being in quarters. They'll have the same medical equipment as a fully staffed paramedic ambulance. Again, these are 2 dual-function firefighter paramedics. Their primary responsibilities are to decrease response times, to initiate patient care more quickly than incoming resources, to perform on-scene triage, and therefore free up fire companies and paramedic ambulances. So if we have a fire company and a paramedic ambulance dispatched to an EMS call and that fast response vehicle is in that first-in district, the FRV will cancel the fire company before they even get out of quarters, be the first on scene, initiate patient care, particularly if the patient is unstable. And then, on the other hand, if the patient turns out to be not critical, they can cancel both the fire company and the paramedic ambulance and either handle the incident themselves or request an EMT ambulance to respond non-emergency. We anticipate the impact of the FRV would be to, number 1, decrease response times, number 2, initiate faster patient care, number 3, initiate on-scene triage and increase the availability of both fire companies and paramedic ambulances. The FRV is not a transport vehicle, so it carries both 300-gallon water supply for fires and, again, a full complement of paramedic and EMT equipment, the same as you'd find on a paramedic ambulance. Given the funding cycle through the Innovation Fund, this has been funded for a 6-month pilot. We anticipate initiating this program sometime in mid-September. We already have detailed 2 paramedics who are also amongst our tactical EMS paramedics, and the other tactical EMS paramedics will serve as alternates. So these are very, very motivated, highly trained individuals who want to engage, want to go out there and run calls, have a positive impact on patients, and also free up existing field resources. So we're very optimistic that the FRV, by all the metrics we're going to be measuring, will prove to be extremely successful, and then we hope we'll be successful in getting further funding to not just expand this program in terms of duration, but also expand this FRV to other battalions throughout the city.
So it was battalion 1 and 11, is that what you said?
That's correct.
And what are the metrics that you were that you're thinking for success?
Several metrics. Number 1 is the number of FRV responses per day. Number 2, the number of incidents where a fire company is canceled by the FRV. Number 3, the number of incidents where a paramedic ambulance is canceled by the FRV. Number 4, number of incidents where a BLS ambulance is canceled by the FRV. Number 5, number of incidents where the FRV upgrades an incident from a BLS ambulance to ALS ambulance by their on-scene triage. Number of instances or incidents where the FRV handles an AMA, which currently requires a response of an assessment unit or paramedic ambulance. Number of structure fire responses by the FRV, and the number of times they're first on scene at a structure fire. The number of incidents the FRV performs any ALS interventions on a patient prior to the arrival of the first on-scene company, and also the type of those interventions, particularly ALS. Number of incidents where the FRV is first on scene, and the number of incidents where the first on-scene company will actually request the FRV for an AMA. So we're going to be capturing all those. Those are about 11 metrics. I'm going to be personally conducting the training with the 2 detailed paramedics and all the eligible paramedics this Thursday. And we have all the logistics done. We have the vehicle. The SOGs have been being finalized. Again, the funds should be unencumbered in the next few weeks. It's back on a council agenda on Thursday. Apparently, it was approved on June 30th, so because it was the last day of the fiscal year, had to roll over to the next session. And my understanding, talking to June yesterday, these funds should be available for us to launch this within the next few weeks. So all the logistics and background information is done, the selection process, and very excited about this resource because particularly battalions 1 and 11 are so busy, and particularly unlike some of our VStaff resources, they're going to cover our peak call load periods, particularly in late afternoon or early evening. And I'm very confident this will be a very a highly impactful resource. We'll cut down on the workload of our existing resources and improve patient care and decrease response times.
And who is the first line supervisor for these folks?
So the first line supervisor, this is going to be under the auspices of the EMS division.
Okay.
So it's currently within the existing structure of the EMS division, and that will be eventually migrated towards the EMS bureau when that's created in the next few months.
So they will report to an EMS captain or directly to you, or figuring it out still?
So the way it's written up, I'll be providing direct medical oversight for the unit, and the EMS captain, who's currently at the EMS division, will assist with logistical oversight and examining the metrics. And also, there's a captain who oversees our tactical EMS section, Captain Kanabi, and we're working in collaboration in addition to provide oversight and logistical support. So this is a true collaboration, and our tactical medics who need additional hands-on patient experience, it's a perfect segue. So we have very experienced, very motivated individuals. Sometimes it's difficult to get our people to be detailed on a special duty project. So this is really worked very well for both sides. They're very enthusiastic and looking forward in anticipation of this resource being launched. We're also going to provide training sessions, and will be some information coming out on the portal over the next few weeks, particularly to the 2 affected battalions in the Central Bureau. But I think our resources and personnel will soon see this as a valuable resource to free up fire companies and ambulances on-scene triage and decrease response times.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're I'm very happy to see us trying out some new stuff, and we're very interested to see how this impacts the workload, and ultimately, if we're getting faster response times and better patient care, then that's the gold standard to me. I ask about the supervision just because when you have folks who are out there on radio, it presents a different operational model than one we've ever used. And so I just want to make sure we've thought through what that supervision looks like. I'm sure that the members are going to be great, but everybody needs a supervisor for something, and so really having very clear delineations of lines of accountability and lines of management, I think is very, very important. I'm all for collaboration, but I really strongly encourage you to say the boss of these people is this guy or this woman. They are going to be the boss of this unit. So if there's a problem in the field, that's who responds, as opposed to it being, it depends on the day. So that's my only request, is that there be a very clearly delineated supervisory structure there, where the FRV reports to one individual. I understand you're the medical supervisor, and that makes perfect sense. But just somebody who can support them if they need help in the field, and somebody who can provide some oversight there. And I think that just goes to making sure that this is successful. But I want to just really appreciate you and the chief and everybody else involved in this in terms of being very forward-thinking and really considering some new options here that we can look at that's going to help us be more responsive to the community we serve. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, performing on-scene triage, I mean, right now, as good as our dispatch system is, it's still telephone triage. So I anticipate them canceling a lot of resources, downgrading responses, handling incidents. I agree with your point about supervision. We'll make sure that's very well delineated in our SOGs. And because it's a 410 schedule and we'll cover 2 battalions and several first-ins, we'll make sure the supervisors are also on a special duty position, so it's a more natural chain of command as opposed to someone in the field who's on platoon, which we've had problems before with multiple bosses. But this will be very scrutinized. We're going to be coming back with these metrics. And yeah, we're very excited about implementing this new resource.
So I just have some basic questions about, like, for example, what kind of resource? It's an ambulance, right?
No, ma'am. It's a new brush patrol vehicle. So it looks like a extended cab pickup truck, basically with a 300-gallon water tank and hose, and a full complement of paramedic equipment you'd find on an ambulance. So it's basically a combination of a brush patrol and an ambulance without transport capability.
Okay. Oh. And it's going to be staffed with 2 paramedics?
Correct. Two dual-function firefighter paramedics. That's correct.
Okay. And it's a 410 schedule, so they're not going to be on the, what do you call it, the AB?
That's correct.
So it's not platoon duty. Okay. So where are they going to be based? Are they going to be at 3s? What station? How do they deploy?
So the individuals who currently will staff are currently based out of Hotchkiss Training Center because they're part of the TEMS program. We're looking at the logistics of likely housing the vehicle at Fire Station 20 or at Hotchkiss. And again, with the training, we're ironed out exactly when they start their duty. They're out on the radio in either of those 2 battalions. Their job is to buy into calls, to free up fire companies, decrease response times, and improve patient care in a more timely manner. So it's a different modality, so they're not going to be in a station waiting for the alarm, basically. Similar to probably the best analogy is like our bike teams, which are not dispatched, they buy into calls. And so, and that's what I want to emphasize with the training this week, and again, these are, because they're our tactical paramedics who are very engaged, their job is to go to as many calls as possible. So it's, as opposed to waiting for a call, they'll buy into calls. And again, if they're in the first in of that call, they'll cancel the fire company before the fire company even leaves quarters. Obviously, there's some exceptions. If it's structure fires, they could attach themselves, but they can't cancel anybody until they get a size up. Certain types of medical calls, like a cardiac arrest or a shooting or certain types of traffics, obviously they're not going to cancel fire companies because of the manpower or special resources. But it's a highly versatile, highly mobile, fast response vehicle. Again, it's a modified brush patrol rig with a full complement of medical equipment that we see on a paramedic ambulance.
Great. And how is this going to interact with because we're also deploying the new the nurse practitioner?
Yes, ma'am.
So how are these 2 going to interact, or?
So 2 totally separate entities, if you will. The nurse practitioner response unit will be deployed in Battalion 13 in South LA. That vehicle will be housed at Fire Station 64.
Okay.
We anticipate that probably to be implemented a little bit later, probably towards the end of next month. There's a lot more logistics to finalize to get that implemented. So completely different perspectives. The NPRU is focusing on more the higher acuity patients to get on scene faster, to initiate patient care on critical patients, and also can respond and start mitigate structure fires. The nurse practitioner response unit is for EMS super users and low acuity patients to do a treat and release and obviate the need for transport. So it's really looking at almost 2 ends of the spectrum.
Okay, and 2 separate models, it sounds
ma'am.
like. Okay.
I have a request. I appreciate and I'm excited about the forward thinking here. But could I get this in writing? I mean, you gave us a lot of good information. I'd just like to go over it again and really look at the items that you're going to use for the metrics system to determine the outcome of this program, and then all of the things that you told us it's for.
Yeah. It could be something you already have.
I mean, you already have it there. I just need it.
Exactly.
I just need it in writing. You can even email it to me. That would be
Sure.
really
It's already
great.
done. It was
Yeah.
a verbal report, but it's already done. I'll be happy to email that to you. It has the
Good, please.
overviewed all the metrics we just talked about.
Yeah, because I'm sure it covers a lot of the little basic questions we had.
Right.
Of course.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Appreciate that.
Sorry. Just the last thing is, as with anything we do differently in this department, I think the more we can over communicate to our members in the field who are going to be interacting with the new units. Really want to encourage you to do more than just put stuff on the portal. Maybe send that unit on a little tour force where they can stop by each station, talk about who they are and what they're doing and why they're there. Or maybe somebody else can do that. But I think when we put stuff on the portal, I think it can be easy to sort of read it and be like, all right, so that's happening. Flip to the next 30 announcements that we've got, versus saying, like, let's be really clear about what this is, what this isn't. I know when I get out in the field and evangelize about the NPRU, there's a lot of questions remaining out there about what it is and what it isn't. Similarly with something like this, I think it's frankly a little bit easier to explain. But just I think that's just simple as it sounds, or maybe as silly as it sounds in this case. Change management is part of this, so just encourage you to really think through how we are rolling this out to the members in the field so they really understand what this new idea is, because I think they'll get behind it. I really do. It's going to help them. It's going to support them workload, places like 9s and 10s and all these folks who are really running a lot. There's nothing not to like here. So I think we just encourage you to just think about how you want to roll that out to them.
It's not silly. I agree completely. I also agree, very few people read the portal or get the information. So the NPRU, I've actually started to hold a series of meetings with not just 64s, but officers in Battalion 13 with the assistance of South Bureau to get the information face-to-face and have people ask questions face-to-face rather than reading a piece of paper. And I'm going to be working with Chief Legal as well with Central Bureau to not only distribute the document, but answer questions. A brief overview, and like I said, it's much easier to understand the concept of the fast response vehicle, but to answer the questions in advance. So there'll be the SOG, there'll be an FAQ, frequently asked questions document, and I'll be holding some sessions in both battalions so people, particularly officers, are very well aware of the capabilities and limitations of this resource and how they could be utilized. And I agree, I think the field will embrace it, but it's important they understand it before we implement.
Great, and I may be the nerd here, but when the SOGs are done and the FAQs are done, if you don't mind just forwarding those along, just so we can take a look at them.
Of course, be happy to.
Thanks so much.
I have one other question. When you select the paramedics for this particular program, was it an open selection process, or did you have certain people that you had in mind? How did it come about? How did those two come about?
That's an excellent question. For the FRV, we were kind of debating how to best make this attractive because it's a 410 detail, which is very difficult to attract our members to for obvious reasons. And then in talking to our tactical EMS folks, some of those folks need additional patient experience, patient encounters. And it turns out they were willing to have two of the TEMS medics two of whom are currently deployed in the field full-time in a paramedic ambulance, who are willing to be detailed for the 6 months pilot program. And then the other TEMS medics now, some of whom were on special duty with tactical EMS, will serve as alternates. So they were this is a direct detail. The nurse practitioner response unit, we put a notification out on the portal inviting any paramedic who's interested in the NPRU to submit a letter of interest by email. And we conducted interviews for those individuals, and we just finalized a selection, and we have alternates for that. So the NPRU was an open process because it's a 1-year detail, and it's a much more specialized assignment. The FRV, it was seamless to simply work with our tactical EMS folks, and we had 2 people volunteer who are currently on a platoon duty assignment in a paramedic spot, and the rest of the TEMS medics will serve as alternates.
Okay. So if it becomes a permanent type situation, you'll look at another process?
Yes, ma'am. If it becomes permanent, then obviously it'll be filled through a normal process with publicizing the job description, the availability, the work hours, and see who volunteers for the position.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, very last question. When can we have you come give us an update on how it's going? What's a good time for you for that, do you think?
Well, it's a 6-month pilot, so I think 30 days would be reasonable. I would anticipate they're going to be a little bit bold prediction. I like to under promise and over deliver, but I think with the individuals we have with this program, the call volume they're going to be running, I think we'll be able to come back with some pretty compelling data after 30 days.
Okay.
So, and it starts September 1, you said?
I can't give you a hard implementation date because we're waiting for the funds to be unencumbered.
Okay.
We're shooting for probably mid-September, hopefully the latest.
Why don't we say like December, January, we could have you come back?
So I'm happy to come back after we have 30 days of data and give us maybe a few weeks to how about 2 months from the implementation date, which give us 1 month of data, and then give us a few weeks to analyze the data and put them in a cogent format to explain our preliminary results.
All right, we'll put it as a TBD for now, but we'll just assume that you're gonna, once it gets going, you'll give us a date.
Yeah, I think 30 days worth of data would be pretty compelling because of the volume of runs that'll probably be going on.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so that's it. And we don't have any public comments, so we can adjourn. No, these are from last week, so.
Okay, move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.